Hey, welcome everyone. We are now doing our second interview in our customer interview series. And today we're joined by Craig LeBlanc, the Senior Product Marketing Manager at Repsly. So, Craig and I actually got connected first over LinkedIn, which I feel like that's how I meet so many of our customers and just other marketers these days. And Craig reached out because he was applying to Repsly. And I thought this was really cool. As you were applying and getting started there, you saw Novatic, you heard about it, and were like, I want to bring this when I join. And actually had, when you first joined, had the person who you were replacing on the call. So really cool to hear that you heard about it and immediately were like, okay, we got to get this at this new company.
Yeah, no, really like a full circle moment to now be like having the interview with you. When I was in my initial meeting or interview stages with Repsly, I pitched Novatic as one of the ways that like we would introduce a new system and kind of go about storytelling in a different manner. So for it to lead up to here it's pretty cool.
To start, just would love to hear about how you first wanted to use Novatic at Repsly and what you guys are doing with interactive demos.
Yeah, so to get started, what we really wanted to do was we wanted to launch a revamped product tour. When I first discovered Novatic, it was by way of a post on LinkedIn where somebody was referencing Mixpanel and what they were doing with embedding a product tour into their website. I went through the entire process. I thought that it was just such a refreshing way to see a company talk about their product in a very non-intrusive way. Like I could jump on the website, check it out myself. I didn't have to go through a bunch of barriers. So it was just a really simplified process that I really enjoyed. So that was one of the first things we wanted to do at Repsly was just revamp what we had for our current product tour and implement Novatic. So what our last product tour actually had in place was a see it in action button. By clicking that, it would open up a new tab. It had a form with about 5 or 6 different fields. One of the first initiatives with this was we really wanted to condense it down to just a couple of fields, just eliminate some friction. And when we were thinking about utilizing Novatic, we did discuss the idea of embedding it within the homepage, but it's kind of an approach of just like the least amount of resistance. We wanted to get it over the finish line when we were building it. And just linking it up in a new tab, it made it for us a very simplified process. We do have initiatives where we're going to embed it into like blog posts and things down the road. But for the product tour itself, we really just wanted to focus on just getting it, replacing the previous product demo as quickly as possible. So if you were to click see it in action, it would actually take you to a gated version of the product tour right here, where we just simply ask for a business email address. So if I were to type in my email, kicks it over to HubSpot for us, enriches the email address, drops them into a sequential email flow. But if we actually want to check out the tour right now, I think that you'll see a couple of things that we pointed out in a previous conversation. We really like to leverage the use of emojis in the communication that we were using. It's something that I think is a little bit unique, but often in communication, even though a lot of what we're doing is B2B communication, it's still people behind the screen at the end of the day. And I think everyone is very familiar with this type of communication method of dropping in emojis. It looks a little bit more just creative from a design perspective, in my opinion, as well. It's not just bare text in a window right here. So it just pops a little bit more. And that's really what we are going for with that. When clicking through the actual screens, I actually enjoyed the first time that I put together a Novatic demo and just being able to customize all of these individual fields. It really made it simple for me to go through and just create a very clean experience for the end user when they were trying to check out our product and really see or just visualize what like a customer environment could look like. Novatic enabled me to go in here and clean up the entire product environment. And really, it was just a simple update from start to finish going through here. It took some time and some thought, but at the end of the day, it helped us execute on our strategy in a way that we were really happy with.
Awesome. I love what you said before about the use of emojis. I think one thing I really love about your tour was it just is very clear the value you're getting out of each part. Like you really get a high level overview of the platform and what you're going to gain from using it, not just step by step. This is what my product looks like. And the emojis are just a quick way to remind you, oh, like this chart going up, I'm seeing growth from using it.
Right. And we also incorporated sections within not each modal, but like the majority of them, where we dropped in a tip section where we really wanted to tie together the experience of, okay, this is the feature set that you can expect on this page, but this is the use case of where you can really generate value from this feature. So the mixture of tips, the mixture of emojis, a little bit of a different way that I've seen Novatic being used compared to some other companies up to this point. For example, our scheduling page right here, we point directly to what scheduling can do in terms of how it can impact your day-to-day business. but we also leverage the tip section to talk about how the new visit option within this specific screen view allows you to assign a visit, insert a visit description, link a form to complete once arriving at a specific location. So we really try to tie together that entire experience within that small window.
Yeah. You mentioned this at the beginning with Mixed Panel, but I'm curious if there are any other tours, especially like this value driven component that inspired you in creating this demo.
Yeah, I mean, Mixpanel was the one that I really drew inspiration from initially. I believe Ramp was the other one that we looked at. And I came across Ramp by way of our CSM, Randy. He gave us quite a few links to other customers that you guys have launched with. And Ramp and Mixpanel were like the two that I really drew inspiration from. And aside from that, like I mentioned in our messaging exchange, I'm the type that really likes to dive into a new product and break it, is just the way I refer to it, where I see what looks good, what doesn't look good. And there really isn't anything that I don't try. In terms of like Novatic, it was trying out different transitions, utilizing the beacon in certain spots, different window types and modal types, from tooltip to a full size window modal. So yeah, I was really trying to just test out everything and see it from a creative sense, what looked best.
You could really tell when you were showing the tour that each modal had looked very purposefully placed. That was another thing I wanted to give you a shout out on. It's a newer feature, so people haven't used the modal repositioning as much. But you did such a great job as you talked about what is the best way to show this? Should I use a beacon, a tooltip, a modal? It really feels like every step was very purposely placed and did a really good job not blending in too much with the rest of the product, but being a nice accent to it.
Yeah, definitely. We were very critical in terms of how we were placing and where we were placing those modals, because some of the biggest value props that we were pointing out on a screen, if we just kept it in one spot, we were covering that section up. And we definitely didn't want to do that. And I looked at it as, if we have this showing up in the top right corner or bottom right corner on every single window, that user could become just a little bit bored. Like it looks like the same thing potentially when they're transitioning from screen to screen.
And you give a few of these already, but would love to hear if you had to give one or two tips for any Novatic newbie, what would they be?
From a product marketing perspective, I'm big on messaging and positioning, right? Like I go into it and I have an idea of a script that I want to have in place. But I think transitions within Novatic are huge. Being able to transition properly from step 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, it's really important, or else your tour can come off as some, I don't want to say sloppy, but there's room for improvement when you're not transitioning properly. And that really only comes from experience with the product. So you could have everything scripted out and the messaging perfect, but you really have to understand the ins and outs of the Novatic product to put those proper transitions into place to where everything does flow as you'd want it to from start to finish. So that would be one thing. Another thing I would say, really just thinking outside the box in terms of ways that you can leverage the product. The way we're looking at it right now, and I might be jumping ahead, I'm sure you get into use cases, but one of the tips that I would have is have conversations with other stakeholders and get a feel for not just the pain points of how they'd like to maybe have the ability to tell the story a little bit better about the product with a leave behind of a Novatic tour, but just pick their brain a little bit and see what they have to say about what they think about the tour, get their feedback. We're now seeing use cases where we might drop a Novatic tour inside a case study. We're looking at our top five blog posts in terms of traffic and seeing what types of product tours we can embed within those blog posts. There's really endless opportunities for us right now. And again, from a product marketing perspective, I'm looking to enable our entire company by way of Novatic. So when we have minor or major product improvements, we're leveraging Novatic to share that tour out to employees within the company to educate them on new feature sets.
I'd love to dive into a little bit that blog use case because we're seeing that starting to pop up a little more. When you're thinking about embedding it into blog posts, are these more bottom of funnel? Like here's a list of 10 products and play around with ours live? Or is it this is how you do something? And by the way, here is how you would do it in our product.
This is how you would do something. And by the way, that's how we do it within our product. We definitely look at it as more of an education side of things. Like right now, we have some very well performing blog posts. And the way that we only convert on those posts is by way of a contact form or some type of downloadable asset, which I'm not saying those don't perform well or give us value. But I think if we can layer into that with another value proposition of showing off the actual product, it ties together the experience in a way that we're just missing out on right now.
Awesome. This has been amazing, Craig. I already have some ideas for our blog post and how I could be better using Novatic. So I thank you there. And thank you again for walking us through your tour and congrats on the recent launch.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.